Seeing red in Dallas, the top two teams in MLS go down, and a nightmare situation in Toronto. Next on The Daily. Hey everybody, happy Monday and welcome to another edition of The Daily here with Greg Lalas. I'm Nick Firchau, looking back at the highlights from Week 9, and we're going to start with a Sunday night game out at FC Dallas Stadium. The Rapids in town to face FCD. This one started out innocuously, Greg, and then it got a little bit ugly. 2 red cards for FC Dallas. Daniel Hernandez, Blas, Perez, each with 1. Colorado goes on to get the win.
And wow, the controversy will start about this one, about whether Daniel Hernandez deserved that second yellow, considering he already had one. That was in the 34th minute, and it was only 2 minutes later that Blas Perez got a red card for what looked like a pretty innocuous challenge. Yes, his foot was up, but he was definitely looking at the ball. He wasn't going in with a studs high tackle or anything like that. So I think this is one that a lot of people will be talking about over the next coming days. And obviously FC Dallas were down 2 men very, very hard. And it took a little bit of time for Colorado to really get onto the scoreboard and take advantage of it. Eventually, Jaime Castellón got a header. It was a nice goal on that one, coming from Brian Mullen on the cross. And then Martin Rivero finishes it pretty easily when he's got some space in the middle. It ended up being a pretty easy win for the Rapids. I think Dallas will feel very hard done by, as they say.
Yeah, but in this league, you got to take advantage of it when you see these red cards in the first half. So the Rapids able to do that. A big win and 3 points for them.
And interestingly, Breck Shea did not play in this game. He was held out a little bit of I think it was a turf toe injury that kept him out of this one. So that was obviously another blow for Dallas.
Yeah, it was an interesting game with, I think, a lot of people trying to figure out what these two teams are made of. We may not have learned that much in this game. Again, FC Dallas going down to the Colorado Rapids. Well, the best team in Major League Soccer was back in action after a week off. Sporting Kansas City at home at Livestrong Sporting Park. Seemed like they had this one down, on paper at least, going up against the expansion Montreal Impact. But Greg, that wasn't the way it played out. The Impact go down to Kansas City, get a 2-0 win. The biggest upset so far this season.
Absolutely. And do we have to put a crisis management thing going on here in Kansas City? That's 2 losses in a row after that tremendous start that they had to the season. And Montreal starting to look good. And, you know, Nelson Rivas made his debut for Montreal in the back, so that's only going to strengthen up their defense. We know that they're tough defensively. They get a shutout on the road against one of the most prolific scoring teams in MLS in Sporting Kansas City. Really, Sporting didn't look like themselves. They weren't attacking with the zeal that they normally do. And Montreal looked very good. A beautiful goal from Felipe Martins that got them off the mark in this one. And then they just put it away. They shut down defensively, did very well that way. This is a Jesse Marsch team through and through. They get the goal that they need to. They know how to defensively stay tight, and a great win for the Impact.
And for Sporting Kansas City, you mentioned it, 2 losses in a row, obviously sandwiched around that off week. I wonder if that had anything to do with their form on Saturday for Peter Vermees's crew. Well, if there was any argument about the best team in MLS up against Sporting Kansas City, maybe it came from the San Jose Earthquakes coming into this weekend, but shelve that one for a little bit. The Vancouver Whitecaps get a big 2-1 win over the Quakes up at BC Place. Eric Hasley, the guy that the Vancouver Whitecaps fans and the team have been waiting to find that form again in 2012. He gets the game winner.
He sure does, and it was pretty much with the last kick of the game in this one. It looked like San Jose were going to escape Vancouver with a good hard-earned point on the road and keep their winnings, or let's say undefeated streak, going for a little while. Chris Wondolowski with another goal for San Jose, so he pushes a little further ahead in the Golden Boot race. But this was a big game for Vancouver. It's a little bit of a statement game, if you will, and they got the win, obviously, but they also looked good. They went toe-to-toe with what was the top team in the Western Conference in San Jose. So I think the Whitecaps will feel very good about this one, obviously. San Jose, this is one I think they chalk up to. We were on the road, we played midweek, we're done with this one, it's fine, we're good. You know, we'll go home, and next time we get a win in the next game out.
Yeah, you mentioned midweek San Jose with that win over DC United, but unable to get it done against the Whitecaps. I like this rivalry, though. I think these two teams have played twice so far this season, 2 very good games, the Quakes and the Whitecaps. Well, the big high-profile matchup over the weekend on ESPN, the LA Galaxy at home against the New York Red Bulls. And Greg, you and I talked about this before the weekend, that this is one the Galaxy should get, and if the Red Bulls can go down to Home Depot Center and sneak one out without all these players that they've had injured or suspended, it'd be a huge advantage. the Red Bulls got it done.
Pretty amazing when you think about this game. All the stars that were out for New York. Yeah. No Condé, no Thierry Henry, no Rafa Marquez, and a couple other injuries in back as well. Roy Miller wasn't there as well. So this looked like a game that the Galaxy could reestablish themselves, certainly as a team that can be dominating in the Western Conference and in MLS. They had everybody there. Keane was out there, Landon Donovan was out there, Beckham. Remember, Keane and Beckham were rested in midweek, so they should have been good to go. Instead, the Red Bulls turn the tables on them. This is a great win for the Red Bulls, considering they travel 3 time zones. They get a 1-0 victory in LA. You have to start questioning what's going on with the Galaxy, because not only did they lose this game, they didn't look good in doing so. And Edson Buttle looked a little bit lost up top for them. Robbie Keane, his confidence seems a little short right now, let's say. And Landon Donovan was invisible for most of the game, and he needs to be involved in it. His ability to take over a game is, we all know about it. So why isn't it happening? Yeah. For New York, a great win. This is fantastic. Their defense, we were talking a little bit before the game was happening. We said, beware a team that is being written off so grossly by everybody, and they're playing for each other right now. And this is a New York team that's a little bit dangerous because of that. Now, eventually talent will overcome. In this case, though, it didn't, and the Red Bulls got the win.
And for LA, definitely a long week, a midweek loss up in Seattle without their stars, and then they come home. You have to wonder how Bruce Arena's team is going to react. They're not in this position a lot. And by the way, they have never lost 3 games in a row under Bruce Arena. They're knocking on the doorstep of that one. Well, last but not least, a little bit of history this weekend, and not in a good way. Toronto FC with their 8th consecutive loss to start the season. This one against DC United, again at home at BMO Field. That sets a new record that tops the 1999 mark set by Kansas City. What is there left to say about Toronto FC and a dismal start to the 2012 season?
Well, I think that their players are saying it right now. Eric Avila coming out and saying that this was a nightmare for them. It's a nightmare situation. Ryan Johnson coming out after the game and just saying it was disgraceful the way that they lost to DC United and the way that a team can come in and do this to them. So very, very frustrated up there for the players for TFC. And, DC United, give them credit. Yes. They went up there, they got the win. Chris Pontius, another beautiful goal for him. I hope Jurgen Klinsmann is watching all of this and thinking about maybe bringing Pontius in for the U.S. national team. But Toronto, they've got to figure something out. They did get the draw in Montreal last week in the Canadian Championship. They have the second leg of that semifinal coming up on Wednesday. So there is a moment of redemption that can come for this if they can get the victory against Montreal and move on to the final.
One of the more telling quotes of the year thus far, you mentioned Eric Avila, said that after these kinds of games, they want to run and hide.
Yeah, cry and hide. Yeah, together. Wow.
It's tough stuff for Toronto FC, 0-8 to start the 2012 season. That does it for us. The latest edition of Extra Time Radio will be out on Monday, and you log on to MLSsoccer.com. You can find all the highlights and all the results from another wild weekend in MLS.